So this weekend was supposed to be the third race of a triple header. Unfortunately, due to one race cancellation, it's only a double header. But still, Spanish Grand Prix week is here, and this is one of those tracks, let's say, which a lot of people always look forward to, just because of not just the history, but also because it's a track that all teams are familiar with. So what we're going to do is Gargi and me, Shane, are going to be previewing the race, talking about a few interesting talking points or things that we're going to be keeping an eye out for on this particular weekend. Obviously, one of the first things that we have to talk about, Mercedes, Ferrari, two teams really who are coming up with upgrades, finally going to get to run them at a track which, truth be told, should give you a better indication of performance. What do you think both teams are going to be looking for, really, in terms of initial, let's say, performance?
Mercedes and Red Bull.
Ferrari, not Red Bull.
Mercedes and Ferrari. I think at this point, you know, you're at Spa, you've been at Monaco, you've been at...
You're at Catalonia, not Spa.
Sorry, you're at Catalonia.
I wish we were at Spa. I love that circuit.
Really? It's a boring circuit.
Oh, I love that. Oh, Eau Rouge.
Oh, sorry, I was...
Which circuit were you mixing it up with?
I was mixing it up with the French one.
Oh, that's Oh, yeah. That place is horrible.
Yeah.
Not, those lines.
Yeah,
No.
exactly. I was confusing it with that.
No. We're in the circuit de Catalunya.
I think at this point Ferrari is out of the race very much. Out of the race of the top, I don't know, three.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening.
Top 5, yeah. But I think what Red Bull has really... not Red Bull, Mercedes and Aston Martin I think are very much at the top right now and at the best of their game. Not Mercedes, Aston Martin is at the best of their game.
Yeah, compared to Red Bull, let's say.
And it's only going to get better from here. But when we talk about Mercedes with those upgrades coming in at Monaco, that wasn't really
the best place
to test out a new upgrade. But at Catalonia, I think that will be a much truer demonstration of what those side pods really can do.
Yeah, and that, and the suspension, the flow, there's so much stuff. Of course, flow we've seen now, thanks to, of course, those lovely little cranes at Monaco. But still, I think you're right. Now, this is the place where you're going to get to know how good or bad these upgrades are, whether or not it's a benchmark, whether you need to start from scratch. And with Ferrari, I tend to agree with you, because even if they end up doing good with the car, their strategies will just end up leave you like, what are these guys thinking? They're either not going to be aggressive enough, or at times they're just not going to play it safe enough. They can't strike that balance. So for them, unfortunately, and it's a big fall considering last year they were the second best team. Now they're struggling to be in a race for the top 4 or 5. That's problematic.
I mean, I just feel so sorry for Charles and Carlos because, you know, how much can you take? And Charles has been here for what? 5
longer than that, 2019,
that's a long time. And you know, the car's always been bad, the strategy's been bad, and somehow Charles is always at the gunpoint.
And somehow he's still a multi-time race winner in spite of all of that.
And then you know, when I look back into Ferrari and what kind of season they've had this year, I just can't help but think about, you know, those crashes that Charles has had. And Charles, in one of those crashes, after he had one of those crashes, he talked about that we do the data collection and all of that to figure out what really went wrong during the crash. And he said there were some weird things that we couldn't really put our finger on. And I think that's what really threw me off, because again, it comes down to how much can a driver really take.
And truth be told, and I remember we had this debate when we were talking about Charles Leclerc and his constant crashes, is that more often than not, I tend to feel he overdrives because he knows the car really isn't at that level.
Which shows his frustration, doesn't it?
Exactly. You don't want to be overdriving a car.
You don't.
The best of cars and the best of drivers, the champion drivers will always tell you that they were at one with the car. So that means even when they were pushing the limit, they weren't ever worried about a crash, a spin, anything. You see it with Verstappen now. You saw it with Hamilton during Mercedes' dominance. You saw it with Vettel during the Red Bull dominance. They were always at one with the car. It was smooth. This Ferrari is anything but smooth. But of course, Ferrari will have their own struggles, and of course, with the upgrades coming, hope to fix that. But really, I think the main battle for now, if you're talking about the Red Bulls, because they're look beyond the Red Bulls rather, because they're in a league of their own. It's going to be Mercedes versus Aston Martin. Aston Martin going to have a big helping of support from the local fans. Why? Because a certain Fernando Alonso happens to be driving for them. So I think that's going to be a very interesting factor, seeing how much backing the team and of course the driver are going to get from what's going to be very, very passionate home fans.
Yeah, I think Alonso has been a really good addition to the Aston Martin team because, you know, he really brings in that experience, and you kind of need that with a new team and a new car. Because, you know, if you bring in a new driver to a new team, it doesn't really click as
Exactly.
well. But with Fernando Alonso, you really saw his experience at Monaco, you know,
Exactly.
getting that podium. I think that,
Not just that, he actually ended up making the right call for the tires because if you
Yes.
remember, he said, no, we need to switch to Inters. The pit wall said, no, we'll go on dries. But then what happened? One lap later, he had to go in and get the Inters.
Yeah.
The wily old fox was right all along. They need that experienced guy to be at his
Yeah.
best. And I think this is one of those tracks where he's going to be, I think at his best because
Yes.
it's a track he's familiar with. He's going to have the home fans behind him. Also, just as a bit of coincidence, the garage number he has is 33.
oh,
In case you didn't get that, 32
Divine
race wins.
intervention.
Yes. Could this be the weekend? Who really knows?
Could
but
be.
I think for Aston Martin, and this is going to be unfortunately a bit of an elephant in the room we have to address, they need Lance Stroll firing again. Last two races, he's been a problem.
I mean, Lance Stroll doesn't really fire the way you want.
Yeah,
Look
true.
at, drivers of his league, you know, Charles and then Lando,
Oh, even a Carlos for that
even
matter.
Carlos. They've been doing very, very well for their team. But when we talk about Lance Stroll, I don't know if it's the factor that his father owns the team, that he doesn't really have to, you know, be at his
Best, let's say.
not best. You know, he doesn't have to be on alert.
That's true. I think
You
he
know,
has the safest
yeah.
seat in F1.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying is that his seat is pretty much guaranteed. And when you kind of you settle into that comfort zone knowing Lance Stroll, there's not really anyone who can come in and say, oh, you're off the grid.
Yeah.
Because of course his dad owns the
When
team.
you'd remember in 2018, was it when the team was bought? Everyone knew
Yeah.
that come 2019, one of the drivers would be out. The
Yeah.
question was it going to be Esteban Ocon or was it going to be Sergio Perez? In the end, they went with going or chucking out Esteban Ocon. But that's the reality. You know, if the team owner's son is going to be there, then you're not guaranteed that seat.
Yeah.
Which is why Alonso has done as much as he can really and is probably doing the best he can by outperforming Stroll to ensure that come what may, he can leave on his own terms
Yeah.
so that his seat is safe.
Yeah, obviously it's Aston Martin. It may not seem like it, but Lance Stroll is the #1 driver when it comes to safety of his seat.
Exactly,
And
not in
I
terms of
think-
performances.
Yeah, I think that's why he wouldn't be worried about performing or getting outperformed, because in the end he knows it's his it's his backyard basically.
But
So-
look at it this way, Aston Martin right now are at 120 points in terms of constructors. They have the clearly faster car over Mercedes,
Yeah.
yet Mercedes are at 119 points. That's the thing, they need Stroll to step up. And the thing with Stroll is more often than not, he's inconsistent. He can be having a really great weekend. Remember in Turkey 2020 where he took that pole in the wet, which shocked everyone. Like, how is this guy on pole position? So his peaks are really high,
Yeah.
but his lows are really low. There's no middle ground. And with an F1 driver, at any sport, sometimes it's about consistency and finding that middle ground where you can be performing consistently at say a 7 to 8 out of 10, rather than be a 10 out of 10 sometimes and a 4 out of 10 the rest.
Yeah.
That he needs to find. But of course, this year, beyond just the top 3 teams, you've seen a lot of improvement even with the midfield teams. Again, Alpine have been quietly impressive.
McLaren, no.
McLaren, by the way, last race ended up getting a double points finish, 9th and
Yeah.
10th, which is actually pretty good considering where they started the season.
I mean, no, that's not really something out of the ordinary for McLaren.
It
I
isn't.
disagree.
No, it's out of the ordinary for them this year because they started so poorly.
Yeah.
Like they started terribly. Like
I
I'm
mean,
pretty sure.
Yeah, McLaren were having a lot of problems last season, and of course Lando Norris really pledged his dedication to the team, but then Daniel Ricciardo really came out and kind of criticized the team,
And then was bought out of his contract.
Yeah.
He'd probably be really happy. He
I
got
think
paid.
it was him who kind of went out.
Yeah, he to be fair was pretty professional, but the team really wanted another driver, so they said, look, we're paying you 1 year's worth of salary, sit out, and he's being paid 50 million to not drive a bad car. That's a
Yeah.
big win.
Yeah, I
It's a
think
really
so
big
too.
win. But they've actually shown some semblance of improvement. So I think they'll definitely be one of those teams to watch out for. Of course, the midfield battle is really tight because again, with the kind of or the kind of circuit characteristics, the kind of straights you have, I think the Williams will be a real challenge as well.
Williams.
Yes, because they have that weird straight line speed. Remember how good they were in Baku?
Yeah.
Randomly in the qualifying, they'd
Yeah.
be up in the top 4,
Yeah.
5, and you're like, how is Alex Albon doing this? Because that car doesn't have as much downforce. But on the straights, they're really strong.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I mean, they're one of those teams that can actually cause a bit of a surprise.
Yeah.
Either way, I think that's what we are looking forward to. But just one last question, and we'll both answer this. If you had to pick, of course, a race winner, I think fairly obvious, but which driver do you think will be a surprise package this time around?
Ooh, a surprise package. I think George.
I was going to say the same thing.
Oh, really?
Yes, because I remember the kind of performance he had last year,
Yeah.
where he was holding off Verstappen like crazy, and in a car that was clearly not as fast as the Red Bull.
Yeah.
So I was going to pick him as well. Wow, that's actually very, very interesting. We'll have the same pick. But okay, leave aside George. People will accuse me of bias because I'm a pretty unashamed Mercedes fan. I'll pick another driver who I think will surprise us. I think Lando.
Lando, okay.
Yeah, because again-
if his McLaren supports him.
Yes, because I do think they've been making some progress. I think Lando could potentially be that one driver who'll challenge for the top 5 position if he gets things right.
Yeah.
But of course, that's how we feel. You guys can let us know in the comments how you feel or what you think will be the big surprises. Pick a race winner, do whatever if you're a fan of F1 like we are. And don't forget, if you enjoyed this video, to like it, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel, tap the bell icon, leave us a comment, follow us across social media, download the AajTak app as well. For now though, from Gargi and me, it's goodbye.